Hey family, long time no see. So welcome back to my channel if you have been here before, and welcome to my channel if you have not been here before. My name is Glacia. I'm an intuitive life coach and a health coach and Ascension guide. And I'm going to make a video today about kind of recap the energies that we've been going through and then talk a little bit about solstice and moving forward. So 2022 has been a very tumultuous year for many people because we've been wrapping up timelines. Now we know we're in a timeline completion, timeline convergence, and we're in the building of our multi-dimensional light body, right? So as we assemble this light body, we go through many physical symptoms, and the physical symptoms can be worse depending on your spiritual history, right? So depending on what you've encountered in the past, you could have had extreme physical symptoms during your upgrades because you may be, through your multidimensional template, the different avatars that you exist in, your consciousness exists in, may not be completely liberated yet within the grid system, right? So within these grids, we've got a toxic overlay, which is an artificial grid system. So when we talk about the descending grid, or the inverted grid, that's what I'm talking about. The grids that are used for energy harvest and mind control and such. So the organic grid is the holographic light grid that we live in normally without the overlay. So the overlay, as it's being removed, we end up starting to access more of who we truly are, and with this comes a lot of pain. Because of what we've experienced in our past. It's like when you start to remember painful experiences, you feel that pain again from the memory, right? Anything the mind accesses, the body has a response to. So your body is responding to the updates and upgrades in your light body, and your physical body is having these horrendous symptoms. And this includes illness and patterns of dis-ease in the body. And this can be headaches, nausea, the traditional like flu symptoms, right? And then it can also be really weird symptoms where you feel dissociated from your body for a while, or you're starting to see flashes of light and starting to have memories come back that you don't understand how you know, but you just know. And then as you start to shift into your light body template, your awareness, right? You're taking your consciousness from your third dimensional / fifth dimensional kind of incarnation into your multi-dimensional awareness. And when you do that, you can feel really strange, like you're looking at a different world. The same symptoms come about from a timeline jump. Every time you have a timeline jump, you end up shifting into a reality that's vibrationally different, even if it looks very similar. You'll see slight changes. Right? This is when a building is a different color, Mandela effect. Think Mandela effect, okay? So when we go through these upgrades, we do it at different times according to spiritual readiness. This is why some people have zero symptoms. And you think like, I'm really going through it, and this person's not going through it at all. They're not. They're not. So the thing is, not everybody goes through this at the same time. We have certain waves that we move in. Okay, kind of like the ocean. It's like the waves crash to the shore. We're kind of doing that. So it really depends on your inner work, your readiness, and your willingness to face the things that are really heavy and hard. So speaking of that, even maybe a year ago is when I started talking about the issues that you have, the challenges that you face, the stuck things in your life. The places where you're stuck are going to amplify and increase and get harder and harder and harder because they're representations of a limitation in your mind, right? So we buy into these limitations about reality, what the world is, what reality is. And then if we define it and put it in a box, then it can't be anything outside of that. We're having to take our beliefs out of the box now and start to incorporate more universal beliefs rather than a limited belief system based in what we can see right in front of us. So we're integrating all of this information that we have in our spirit, in our consciousness, our eternal consciousness, right? That's what's coming online. So you start to notice that as this stuff comes online, you don't want to hang out with the same people. You don't want to eat the same food. You don't want to watch the same shows. So you start to have a very different experience with the world around you. And this can be very, very concerning for some people because you feel like things are falling apart. that they're not going to get better, that things are only getting worse. But right now we're in a process of getting out of all of this by going through it. We can't avoid it. We're not avoiding this. We have to go through it. The inner work has to be done. Nobody is getting away without facing the beliefs about reality or the distortions that they carry within their field. So distortions of light are patterns that are related to beliefs and emotions and stories that we make up about experiences. Okay, that can create a distortion in your field. Then we see through these distortions, and the world occurs to us through our distortion, which is a limited belief. That's the stuff we're clearing. That's the stuff we're facing. So we're having a lot of aha moments. In these aha moments can be a lot of pain too, because we're also having the awareness of where we are out of alignment with our greatest good, where we have had negative impacts on others. And for those of you that care deeply about others, that hurts. To the people who don't care about others, they don't care if they hurt others, but that's not you, right? And so as we go through these really big awakenings, we start to tap into other people's pain and how we contribute to their pain. And that leads us to turn more to service-oriented expression. How can we make a difference in this world? How can we help in this world? And many of you are having that activated within you now because of the awareness and the inner work that you've been doing. So good job. Good job if that's awakening, because you have to face that heavy stuff in order to get to the lighter stuff. The reason you're not at that lighter stuff is because you've got the weight of the heaviness. Lies feel heavy. Distortions feel heavy. They feel bad in the field because they're not based in your true spiritual expression, the expression of your spirit body, right? So they feel heavy, and they're a point of view only. That's it. They're a point of view believed as truth. So as we start to face this stuff, rearranging and kind of disengaging from situations that don't work. Now, at the same time that all of this is happening, we're integrating the new grid with the divine feminine and divine masculine. So this is what I really want to talk about. Now that we got that stuff out of the way, we are having a major activation. We have been. The grid workers have been working on the grids to restore divine relationship. So this is not just like a romantic relationship. This is spiritual family. So we're having the grid re-implemented that helps you have clarity around who your true spiritual family is, around the truth and around deception. Now, it couldn't come at a greater time, right? This activation coming in now is serving to awaken people to where they're being deceived and to where they've bought into connections that are actually keeping them stuck in time loops. Now, this would be something that would be considered kind of like a karmic relationship, or even something like an alien love bite type situation, right? And if you're not familiar with that, look up Eve Lorgan. She teaches about that, and she does a fabulous job teaching about it. So that situation has been used against people for a very long time, but it's that type of stuff that we're going to start seeing through. Now, this means divine unions, but this also means before the unions comes the separations of the people that are in relationships that are not actually serving their greatest good, or that they've reached their end, right? So when something's reached its end, it gets hard to stay. It feels bad. You don't want to do it. Feels heavy. That's when you know it's time to go, or figure out what your point of view about it is, if you can shift that, or if it's actually that you're done with that situation. Because we don't stay in situations forever, right? And some relationships, let's be real, they're a situationship, not a relationship. And that's what's kind of ending a lot of these situationships where we're facing a lot of our trauma. So the trauma healing is huge right now. So as this grid, the organic grid, starts coming back online, the divine feminine and divine masculine are starting to run in the grids again. This means supportive masculine, supportive feminine, and that supportive kind of mother or father figure. It's really an energy, but that's coming back online, and we haven't had that. You know, we've been dealing with the inverted masculine and feminine, which is manipulative, dominating, all of that, right? So very kind of dark stuff. You'll see that stuff coming up within people. So you'll see people starting to act that stuff out, the dark feminine, manipulative feminine, dominating masculine. as they're working out their distortions. Because when we become aware of our distortions, we feel them first. And sometimes if we don't know what's happening, we act on them. So you may see a lot of that coming out in the collective right after the solstice, because there's a major 2-day activation taking place. And that's why I wanted to get this video out right away too. I know I haven't been here very much. I've been going through a lot too. And so with this activation though, you'll see the separation, you'll see people starting to have conflict with each other, but it's really that conflict that needs to be cleared, because the energy of conflict does not let you move into peace. If conflict, which is a distorted pattern in your field, if you hold it and you see the world through it, and the world occurs to you through it, and you project into the world through it, you're gonna stay in a loop. So this is where we really have to face all of our distortions, and it's coming up and we're feeling very vulnerable. So this is what I wanted to say about the feminine and the masculine coming in. We're starting to feel very childlike because we're going into the cosmic child and healing the cosmic child. So think of the sacred trinity. We've got the male, the female, and the child. Or the male, the female, and the source. Or you've got the male and the female and the third that is a creation or product of those two, whatever you want to view it as, right? So we've got the sacred trinity in play now. So within ourselves, we're having the feminine and the masculine have their divine union within. That's a balancing of your conscious and subconscious, working on the same page together, right? Instead of working against yourself and creating what you don't want. So that awareness is coming in. And then the higher self would be the third, right? In my opinion, the higher self is the third, or the cosmic child, which is your spiritual essence. So that's coming online, so people are becoming whole within themselves. This allows divine reflection. Because if you hold distortions in your field, it's very hard to reflect with somebody else that's not holding those, because there's a mismatch of energy. And this is how we found ourselves in so many of these partnerships that reflect our trauma. We need that worked out. It's a match. So if you think about puzzle pieces, if you hold trauma and somebody holds the codes to help bring that trauma up, which usually is through bad experiences, right? You'll be magnetic to each other because you fit, energetically speaking. This person has what you need to wake up. So if we look at our different situationships like this, hey, what am I learning here? Hey, how can I grow here? How can I be at my best? Everything is within each of us, right? We're in a feedback loop. Everything that you see in your life is a feedback of your expression. And we have to start taking accountability and responsibility. Now, everything that shows up into our experience is an opportunity for us to grow and learn and integrate more truth. And if you view it that way, your challenge is no longer something you want to run from. Your challenges and your triggers become something that you're like, oh, heck yes, I'm going to level up by facing this. So instead of taking a step backwards and getting away from the opportunity to level up, you step into it. And that's a big difference that you're going to start seeing in the collective, because a lot of people have been living in avoidance. And I get it. None of us want pain. It's very natural to move away from pain. Think of it this way. If you have a splinter in your finger and you leave it, it gets worse and worse and worse. You just have to face it. And sometimes you have to like get in there and dig around, and it hurts really bad when you're in there with a needle and stuff, but you get it out and it heals. So we're dealing with that. We have to face it. Can't run anymore. Okay? So it'll just get worse and worse if you run, harder and harder. And surrender is the thing. So in this new grid, force is not the way. Flow is the way. If you try to force things in this grid, you're going to have it smack back against you. So probably the opposite will happen if you use force. It's all about flow, getting in your center and being in the space of your highest good and maintaining that space. And that starts from the mind. The mental body is driving everything, okay? So your mind is connected in that sacred trinity. You've got the conscious, the subconscious, and the higher self. Those are levels of mind. The subconscious is in the collective mind, and so is the higher self. The conscious self is the one that perceives separation. Okay? So balancing those is going to be really huge for a lot of us. Now, upcoming symptoms. You may get sick with the flu type stuff off and on. When we have these huge activations, it's very normal for your body to get sick. The reason is you have a spiritual detox and you have a physical detox. As above, so below. Everything trickles down into form, right? So for the sake of not making this video super long, I'm going to just get into some energies around the first few months of the 2023 coming up. And then I'm going to end this here. With the energies in 2023, I like to describe it as this. We are sometimes inhaling and sometimes exhaling, right? So when you're inhaling, you're doing your inner work, you're going deep within, you're bringing in the codes that you need for transformation. When you're exhaling, you're sharing what you have integrated. You are demonstrating it in the world, right? We're still on an inhale, okay? So we're still bringing in all these light codes. We're still acclimating to these new energies. We're still building our light body and learning how to exist within that, because you can start to travel in your consciousness within the dimensions once you get activated and understand who to work with and what false light beings to stay away from. But then you can start to communicate with the different levels of yourself, right? And like I said earlier, you can feel like you're somebody else, like you just suddenly landed in this reality and you're like, what are people doing here? This makes no sense at all. That's because you've integrated a higher version of yourself, okay? The next couple of months, though, it's more of that inner work. It's more of that, where am I still holding limiting beliefs? If you don't like the way things are occurring in your life, you're in a breakdown cycle. So release and then step into the questions, create the inquiry. How can I create something better than this? What can I do today that leads to greater ease and joy? What can I contribute into this situation that makes it wonderful for me and others? You know, so just start asking these questions. So questions stimulate a response, right? An answer. And so when you ask a question, universal forces come into play to demonstrate that answer, because you're always connected into the quantum field. The quantum field is constantly listening, reading your energy, and giving you feedback into physical form of what you energetically gave it. You give the quantum field something and it gives it back to you. Okay? You give the energy, it gives physical form. So that's this feedback loop. So this is where our work really is over the next 3 months, seeing where we're putting out there what we don't want to get back, and where we're putting our blocks in front of ourselves and how we can remove them, and then sharing that with others. My friends, thank you so much for being here. Happy solstice, and best wishes for the new year, and really coming into your power and shedding these different layers of what you aren't. Much love, family.